Minister, prior to the last election, both you and your coalition partners made firm commitments in your manifestos to increase the betting tax from 2% to 3% and to use this funding for investment in sport. In the programme for government, however, this commitment strangely vanished with no mention of the betting tax and no mention of additional capital investment in sport infrastructure and academies for Irish football. A 1% increase in this levy would have raised approximately 50 million in desperately needed funding for Irish sport. This modest increase is a common sense move that would help address the chronic underfunding of Irish sport that has occurred over recent decades and enable investment in the facilities and academies that are vital for participation and success in sport. Ireland's betting levy is already the lowest in the EU at 2%, a clear indicator of the privileged position the gambling industry enjoys in Ireland. In contrast, Portugal has a 3.5% betting levy, with its revenues being distributed directly to sport. For the Portuguese Football Association, this has generated over 182 million over a 6-year period, accounting for 30% of their annual revenue and enabling investment in every level of football in that country. Ireland is simply not matching this level of investment and is falling further and further behind as a result. If Ireland has the ambition to compete at the level as Portugal, same level as Portugal internationally, we have to commit to building a football industry from the grassroots up. This isn't about Irish football receiving state handouts, but it's about investing in local and national infrastructure that will deliver long-term benefits for our society, economy and our national team. We need to invest in facilities and academies at a community level and ensure that the League of Ireland is supported and pushed to achieve its potential. A modest increase to the betting tax is a very simple first step towards achieving this goal. Practically, the only opponent of this move has been the gambling industry and its army of lobbyists who profit off the misfortunes of others. Prior to the election, increasing the betting tax from 2 to 3% had the support of practically every party in the Oireachtas. However, once the votes were counted, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael decided to renege on this promise. To me, this has the gambling industry's fingerprints all over it. It's just another example of Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael putting corporate interests over communities, families and society at large. So, Minister, my question to you is a very specific one. Why did Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael promise to increase the betting tax for the benefit of sport, only to abandon this promise once their hold on power was secure?
Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Ciara. I wish to thank the Senator for raising this issue today. It's important to note at the outset that the use of funds arising from betting duty accrues to the Exchequer, and there is no hypothecation ring-fencing of betting duty receipts to any sport or sporting body. Such funding matters are the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaelic Sport and the Media, and the Department of Public Expenditure, NDP, Delivery and Reform to consider as part of the annual estimates process. Betting duty is chargeable on all bets placed by a person with a licensed bookmaker at a bookmaker's registered premises, irrespective of the means by which the bet is placed. Licensed remote betting intermediaries are liable for betting intermediary duty on commission charged by them to the person in the state. The rate of duty depends on the type of betting activity and how the bet is placed. The rate of betting duty for bets placed with a licensed bookmaker within the state, either over the counter or via remote means, is 2%. The rate of betting intermediary duty on the commission is 25%. Betting duty is reviewed annually as part of the annual budget process. Options regarding rates are presented to the Tax Strategy Group in the Tax Strategy Group General Excise Paper, which is published online on the website of the Department of Finance. Any decision in relation to rates will be taken in the context of Budget 2026. The Senator should be aware that considerable financial support has been provided by the State for the development of football in Ireland, particularly through the 2020-2023 MOU between the Government and the FAI. The MOU provided for a package of funding of 5.8 million per annum to the FAI during that 4-year period up to 2023 for football development. In return, and it's important to recognise this, the FAI has made significant progress regarding governance reform, with 159 of the 163 MOU recommendations and conditions either completed or Phase 1 completed. A new MOU was signed on the 17th of December 2024, which will increase state funding to the FAI to €6 million per annum for the period 2024 to 2027. In terms of state support for development of facilities, more than €100 million in capital funding was allocated to Irish football in the second half of 2024. Under a large-scale sport infrastructure fund, €54.4 million was allocated in November 2024 to football stadia projects at Finn Harps, Dalymount Park, Sligo Rovers and Wexford Football Club. I also note that the programme for government includes a commitment to explore new mechanisms for the creation of football academics with the FAI and the League of Ireland. An important piece of work in this context is supported by the additional grant fund of €1 million to the FAI in 2024. This funding will enable the FAI to produce a detailed report on the development of football academies, building on its submission to the Department of Sport in October or autumn 2024. The report will include a deep baseline audit of existing structures and needs, which will inform the development plan. The Minister of State for Sport, Charlie McConalogue, will be engaging with the FAI on this topic, further to receiving the report for which the Department has provided funding. That report will be a key input into considering the next steps to be taken, while noting that decisions in this regard are preliminarily a matter for the FAI as an independent sports body.
Thanks, Minister. It seems that the government has bowed at the altar of the gambling industry, and sport and Irish football has to pick up the tab. Personally, I find it hard to take that the discredited and abusive greyhound industry gets 19 million a year, and Irish football and other sports hardly get a fraction of that figure. Governments will talk about sports capital and individual funding projects, as you've done, but what is needed is sustained and reliable long-term funding, not once-off payments, and that would be helped by the increase in the betting levy by 1%. So, and you mentioned also that it's the Exchequer and there's no ring fencing of betting levy receipts to any sport or sporting body, but we all know that's not actually true, because the horses and the greyhound lobby have got funding that equates to the same amount gambled, so that's not actually true. The government needs to commit to a new approach to sports funding which places communities, not corporate interests, at the forefront.
Thank you, Minister.
I wish to reiterate that the Government is committed to supporting the development of Ireland's sporting ecosystem, and the support that continues to be provided for football is a key example of that commitment in action. This is evidenced in the significant funding already provided to the FAI, including capital investment for sports infrastructure and funding for training facilities. As I referred to earlier, the programme for government includes a commitment to explore new mechanisms for creation of football academies with the FAI and the League of Ireland. My colleague, the Minister of State for Sport, Seanad McConalogue, TD, will review the report on the development of football academies, which will feed into the development of future training development plan. Finally, a key point I'd like to convey today is the fact that betting duty accrues to the Exchequer and therefore is not ring-fence of betting duty receipts to any sport or sporting body. It is acknowledged that there is a regular source of confusion, as from 2001 to 2008, the Horse and Greyhound Racing Fund received a guaranteed level of funding each year, which was based on betting duty receipts for the preceding year, subject to a minimum level based on the year 2000 amount. However, in 2009, a policy change was made whereby the annual payments to the fund was no longer to be automatically calculated by reference to the previous year's betting duty. This policy change was outlined in Budget 2009 Summary of Budget Measures.
Thank you.